as far back as I can remember, my grandma on Sundays, well, let's back up even further. My grandfather built a house in Virginia Beach, Virginia, on Burton Station Road. It was one of the first majority black communities in the 1950s. So when he built the house, the farm that they used to go to was in Norfolk, which is too far away. So he established a farm in the backyard, and he grew all kinds of stuff. So my grandma would cook whatever was available from the backyard. My grandpa always had cabbage. So on any given Sunday, it's like throwback to when she would be cooking, and it's a small house. So the kitchen windows would literally have sweat running down, and you would smell cabbage all throughout the house because you could look from one side to the other. And I just remember not liking cabbage when I was little. It smelled funny, it tasted funny, but after she passed and I started cooking it for myself, I realized what I missed out on when I was little. So her cabbage, it's really whatever meat she had in the refrigerator. She would cook that first, just put it in some water, boil it, let it simmer. Most of the time it was neck bones, fat back, bacon, whatever she had left over, chicken sometimes. And then once she had the meat cooked in the pot, she would put the cabbage in there and let it cook in the juices and seasoning. And she would sprinkle some stuff in there, here and there, you know. Some of the stuff we got on the counter.
Walk through what are the ingredients that you're going to have.
So she always used onions in everything that she cooked. I was not an onion person until, again, after she passed, and I realized what I was missing out on the whole time. Of course, you got your salt, black pepper. She would use mustard. I don't know why, but I put it in there because that's what she did, and she never measured anything. So you put it in there, you let it cook for a little bit, you taste it. You put it in there, you let it cook for a little bit, you taste it until it gets to be right. Garlic powder. She didn't really use real garlic, but she used garlic powder. Now, my aunt, her oldest daughter, Brenda, she passed 2020. She would add this adobo to it. So I do that in memory of Aunt Brenda. And then I add some crushed red pepper because I like a little spice, you know. Kick it up a notch. But the original recipe is just salt, pepper, mustard, little garlic powder. I was a sous chef when I was little. I would always be in the kitchen with my grandma. I would do little stuff like peel cucumbers or fruits and stuff like that. I would stir the pot. But when she got sick, I started cooking, mostly breakfast. So she had kidney failure. So she was on dialysis, so that took a lot of her energy away. And I was basically raised at her house, best based on the shift that my mother would work. So I would get up in the morning, I would cook her breakfast, usually bacon, eggs, toast in the oven with the butter on top. That's the only way to do it. And then I would make like sandwiches and stuff. But cooking when I was about 15, 16.
And what kind of recipes were they your grandmother's recipes, or were these things that you had just made up along the way?
Both. Most of it was my grandma yelling from the living room telling me what to do as I was in the kitchen cooking. So make sure you put a little dash of salt in there, or turn the eye down, I can hear it boiling, and stuff like that, which I would attribute it to being her recipes because she was coaching me through it. But every now and then I would add something to it, you know, that she didn't know about, just to see what would happen.
So nothing was written down from her then?
Oh no, nothing was written down. She used to have recipe cards on top of the refrigerator, not on top of the refrigerator, on top of the kitchen sink. But those were stuff that she found out of magazines, and she would write it down instead of keeping the whole magazine book. So they weren't her recipes, but they were recipes that she used.
I'm making eggnog, which my mom makes eggnog every year around the holidays, the non-boozy kind, because she's a little lame, but I love her. So I'm gonna make some eggnog. So pretty simple. It is heavy whipping cream. I forgot to grab the milk because it needs to be chilled, but whole milk. and got eggs and nutmeg. So this is actually whole nutmeg. I'm going to use this for a garnish. And I have some other nutmeg somewhere around here, but I don't remember where I put it, so I'll find that later. It's fine.
Okay.
So my mom makes it every Christmas. She makes it. We normally have like a pretty big Christmas dinner that we have, and then she makes it a little bit before Christmas too. So growing up, what we would always do is make cookies and have a fire in the fireplace. And we would decorate the tree, and my mother would always make eggnog when we were decorating the tree too. I have a brother who is 4 years older than me, and then my daddy, which my dad passed in 2004 and is literally a gift to this world that it did not deserve. My father was freaking amazing. So my grandmother was actually born, and I always say 1912. I think she was actually born in 1908. And my grandmother was an amazing cook, and she was born and raised in Mississippi in a city that is no longer on the maps. I couldn't even tell you what the name of the city is, but she did domestic work like, you know, most black women back then had to do domestic work because they were told that they couldn't do anything else. She actually wanted to be a teacher and was at the top of her class. And
Top of her class in high school, college?
in high school. So, you know, you gotta think about the time. She couldn't get into college at the time, but she was smarter than anything. So she, surprise, surprise, chilled. But she wanted to be a teacher, and she actually had a teacher that told her that she would never be a teacher specifically because she's black. So she went into domestic work, and she cooked, and she used to bake different things, and that was pretty much how she sustained her family and all of her kids, including my mother. And if you ask me how many kids she had, it was a lot. I can't remember all of them because some of them had passed before I was born. But she did a whole lot of something with nothing. And, you know, you fast forward, and my mother, project manager, engineer at Ford. I have an aunt that was an amazing seamstress whose kids went on to be lawyers and, you know, filmmakers. And it's just, I'm always kind of, I get sad sometimes that people don't know enough of their own family history to really take pride in that history. And for me, I'm like, I know enough of it that there's some things that I'm okay not knowing because I am freaking proud of my family. My family is great. They're awesome. They are.
No.
We were preparing the fish, the chicken. In fact, she taught me to fry chicken and to, is it fricassee? I guess that's what you call it, with dumplings. When I was like 10 or 11 years old, I knew how to cut up a chicken. I could do all those things. Now, who cuts up a chicken today? Nobody. You go and buy parts. But in those days, that's, you know, that's the way I grew up. And she and my father met in Buffalo. My father was West Indian. And now how he got to Buffalo, I never knew. But they did. And there was an opportunity for them to come to Detroit. I never quite knew why, but they left the East Coast and came to Detroit. And I was like an afterthought because she was 40 or maybe more than 40 before I was born. And she used to tease. And in fact, it was at Ford Hospital, which is right, you know, over at the Boulevard. I don't know that you've seen it or not. It's one of, well, Papa was associated with Henry Ford Hospital. And she said her friends thought No, no, no. She could not have had a baby. And they were coming over to make sure. There was really this little Aretha there.
Now, what goes into your grits?
Oh, if I tell you, no, I'm going to tell you anyway. You're going to say, that's too rich. I can't eat anything like that. All right, I do the traditional grits. Sometimes, in fact, these are the quick grits. I use the old-fashioned sometimes, but this works just as well. So I boil my water and with a little bit of salt. Then I add the grits and cook them 5 minutes, just about, that's about it. And then I add cream, half and half. You can use heavy cream, but I don't use heavy cream. I use half and half and whip them so that they're light. Now these probably are stiff, which means we're going to have to add a little more half and half before you have them. Then I use Boursin cheese and brie, cube that, and sometimes I'll use something that's a little bit stronger like Roquefort or Parmesan. I have some shaved, I didn't put that in this time because I wasn't sure of the taste for it. And that's basically how I do the shrimp. Now, for the grits, I'm sorry. For the shrimp, I start out by doing a couple of slices of bacon because I want that rendering. And then saute the shrimp like 2 minutes, turn it constantly. Take that out, and then I use fresh tomato, green onions, or scallions. Now, I haven't found scallions in a long time, so I'm just using green onions now. And fresh tomato, seed the tomato, and make sure, you know, that that is well mixed. And then use a little bit of butter, a little bit of hot sauce, some salt. I'm not much on salt. Usually I think when I cook something and someone else is eating, they want to add salt. And I said, that's fine. But I don't use salt as such. I just feel, well, I've lost a taste for it. And I shouldn't do that when I'm having company, but I figure, heck, there's a salt shaker sitting on the table. They can add salt if they want it. And that's basically what it is.
Now, cooking for you, what does it do for you? Is it therapeutic?
It's therapeutic, exactly. That's what it is. And even when I was working, sometimes, well, all the time it was stressful, but I'd come home maybe 9 o'clock at night after I'd settled everything in my office and I felt that I could come home and not worry about what I left there. And I'd pick up a cookbook and I'd look and I'd say, now, do I have the ingredients for this? And if I did, at 10 o'clock at night, I'm in the kitchen cooking. For a man who didn't appreciate all my cooking because he only ate a few things. But he said, you know, if that helps you to calm down and to relax and you can see a finished product, he said, then I think that's good. And that's, you know, what I did. She must have started at me when I was like maybe, well, I had to set the table. I started setting the table when I was like 8 or so. I can remember doing that. And in fact, I still have some pieces of china. If we have time when we finish, I'll show you a couple of pieces that I'm pretty sure I still have from what was my grandmother's china. And but on Sundays, you used china. You didn't bring the plates out from the cabinets like I do now for everything. And it was quite a production. Yeah, it was go to church, come home, get ready for dinner, have dinner like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, sit around with your friends. 8 o'clock, everybody's going home. Sit on the porch, in the swing, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, did your mom